Hello and welcome to the first ever edition of the iRacing Sim World magazine. Our show will be a heads up on what's happening in the sim racing community in the iRacing Road and Oval World Championship Series, with news, race updates, interviews, and some tech tips for any aspiring iRacer who's looking to get their toe in the door on sim racing's biggest competition.
Thanks, Sean, for having me on. The NASCAR iRacing.com World Championship Series this year, 2011, is shaping up to be another hard-fought battle, just like last year. Looks like we're going to go right down to the wire to see who wins this thing. Alfala and Hazard are bouncing back and forth, switching places halfway through here. Alfala's sitting in the lead, but Hazard's nipping at his heels. Brad Wright, Tyler Hudson are right there too. We've had 7 different winners in the 9 races so far, and another 9 to go in the back half of the year. And we have the super speedways pretty much behind us, and the short tracks. So now we're moving to a lot of the venues that these pro guys really love, starting with Michigan on June 22nd. So it's really shaping up to be another great year. The drivers are having fun. We're having fun watching it. We're getting thousands of viewers for the broadcasts every other Tuesday night. So this is really shaping up to be an exciting finish, and we're thrilled with the series again this year.
Side by side, we got a battle. Justin Emine's going to drive it hard in the center of the 5.
Now bouncing over to the iRacing World Championship Series Road Racing, that series has been really exciting as well. It's been really tight all year long. The racing's been great. The broadcasts have been super. Our friends at PSR TV are doing a great job. The audience is growing every week for that series because I think it's so tight. Unlike last year where Hutu just ran away with that series, this year has been completely different. Although Hutu has 2 wins already, he started the year off slow. He's sitting in 3rd place. Klaus Kavickas is sitting number 1 in the series about halfway through. Incredibly consistent. He's been in the top 5 every single race. He's got 2 wins. Hugo Lewis, another guy, he's sitting 2nd. He's been incredibly consistent. He has 5 top 5s out of the 7 races. Hasn't won a race yet. Like I said, Hutu's sitting 3rd. Niemanen's 4th. He has 2 wins. Luke McLean, he has a win. Ilka Happela, these are all sim racing legends, all sitting in the top 6. Ray Alfala is sitting number 7. So showing some incredible diversity and talent, being number 1 right now in the NASCAR series and sitting number 7 here on the roadside. So he's just doing it all. But this series is going to go right down to the wire. The broadcasts, like I said, are really exciting. So we're looking forward to seeing how this one ends.
Side here comes Thomas Hazard, right to the middle, 3 wide, across the stripe. It's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr. will take the lead in the 3.
I agree with Tony here. The 2011 championship has been really great so far. It's been very competitive, and it looks like things are going to continue in this manner for the rest of the season. We are now more than a third of the way through the NASCAR iRacing Series World Championship, and in 7 rounds we've had 6 different winners. Tom Hazard now heads the championship standings as the series heads to its next round at Charlotte. Let's have a quick review of the season so far. In a dramatic opening race of the 2011 season, Ray Alfala planned his attack to perfection. He moved up the field with 25 laps to go and sought the lead to take the last lap honors. He took the checkered flag, just a car length clear of Pedro Mojica, who was right behind him. Fortunately for Alfala, he managed to avoid 2 huge wrecks in the 100-lap race, including one late in the event, which involved more than 12 cars and sealed the fate for the likes of Josh Berry, Theo Olsen, and Brian Schoenberg. With the first race of the NASCAR iRacing Series World Championship complete, Alfala gets his championship bid off to a perfect start with maximum points at Daytona, with Mojica, Parker, Stevens, and Lewandowski occupying the remaining 5 positions in the championship. Putting the specter of the final lap exit for a podium spot at Daytona behind him, Brad Davies dominated proceedings at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway with a flag-to-flag victory in the City of Sin to put his championship firmly back on track. While Davies sailed to his first win of the season ahead of Josh Parker and Derek Wood, current NASCAR iRacing World Championship driver Richard Towler had a race to forget after bringing out the caution twice for incidents in Turn 4, which would eventually send him down to a finish position of 37th. So it was Davies taking up top points in round 2 of the championship, with Josh Parker, Derek Wood, Josh Berry, and John Gorlinski filling out the remaining top 5 positions. By taking 7th place at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Ray Alfalla holds onto a slender single-point lead in the championship standings, ahead of Parker, Lewandowski, and Tom Hazard, who've all advanced up the points ladder following round 2. It was a main performance racing podium sweep at Thunder Valley, as Thomas Hazard, Josh Berry picked their way through the field to claim the top 2 steps of the podium at Bristol International. After taking the lead from Brad Wright with 156 laps on board, Hazard was a rolling roadblock, and despite several cautions, the Midwest-based iRacer held on for his first NASCAR iRacing Series World Championship victory of the year. Meanwhile, preseason favorites Richard Towler and Brad Davies continued in their struggle to score any noticeable points, with Towler only able to manage a 20th place finish and Davies a devastating 35th. Following his main performance racing teammates home in 3rd position, Jeremy Allen earned his highest finish of the season so far, ahead of Richie Davidowitz and Ray Alfalla, who continued of his run of top 10 finishes at Bristol. Alfalla remains the only name to have led the NASCAR iRacing Championship standings table with a significant 2-point advantage over Hazard, who is just 8 points clear of Josh Parker and Derek Wood. Derek Wood led the field the majority of the race at Martinsville, but he soon found himself dropping down in the order as pit strategy played out. It was tough to set out any type of strategy or plan in a race that was marred by over 25 cautions. In fact, Josh Berry took the lead and then subsequently the victory when he, shall we say, assertively pushed his way past Alfalla, Josh Parker, and Thomas Hazard. This caused iRacing to announce their new incident review board. For current NASCAR iRacing World Series champion Richard Towler, his hopes of retaining his title position look all but extinguished as the Englishman's run of poor finishes continued, with Towler taking the 42nd finishing position at Martinsville. At the end of that bruising 250-lap race, Hazard and Parker followed Josh Berry's Chevy Impala home to occupy the podium slots ahead of Chris Mayne and Brad Wright, who capitalized on the restart drama to finish in the top 5. With Alfalla dropping to 9th after the final caution, he relinquishes his lead to Thomas Hazard in the NASCAR iRacing Championship standings, while the trio of Parker, Berry, and Chris Mayne have closed the gap to just a handful of points. The championship got back to restrictor plate racing for round 5 at Talladega, and it was Jeremy Allen taking the lead in the final 5 laps that saw the Indiana-based sim racer snatch his first victory of the season, right in front of Thomas Lewandowski. Allen made his way to the front by pushing on leader Theo Olsen in the tri-oval. Unfortunately, it proved to be a little too forceful, which sent Olsen into the wall and bringing the race to a close under the caution flag. Following Allen and Lewandowski to the checkered flag, Tyler Hudson, Brad Davies, and Brian Schonberg added their top 5 finishing stats at Talladega. For the second week on the bounce, Thomas Hazard remains at the top of the NASCAR iRacing Championship table, with a 6-point advantage over Ray Alfalla, while Josh Parker, Josh Berry, and Chris Mayne are only a good finish away from the leader. Emotions were high under the lights of Richmond International Raceway for round 6 of the championship. This was demonstrated by Jeremy Allen and Theo Olsen, who got together on track yet again. Then they continued their spat once most of the damage had already been done. We can expect iRacing officials to set the discipline for these two in the near future. Avoiding the action behind him, Ray Alfalla kept his JDR graphics Chevy at the front of the pack after moving his way to the front with a pass on pole sitter Brad Davies after 10 laps. Eventually, Alfalla would go on to lead 146 of the 200 laps and finish ahead of Josh Parker, John Gorlinski, and Brad Wright. It's top points for Alfalla at Richmond as he rebounds back into the World Championship title lead ahead of Tom Hazard, although there's only 4 points between the pair with Parker, Wright, and Berry all in contention. It's now time to bring you some news from the iRacing Road and Oval World Championship Series. Take a look at this footage. This is just a small example of some of the on-track shenanigans that went on at Martinsville. As a result of that race in Martinsville, iRacing and First decided to implement a new review board. This race review board is made up of 5 neutral stewards who will look over on-track incidents and then decide if a penalty should be issued. Now here's where things can start to get interesting. If a majority of the review board find that someone is at fault, they will be awarded 4 penalty points. And if they reach 14 in the space of the season, the driver receives 1 race ban. Amazingly, 2 races after the new committee system was established, one driver has already totted up enough points to be sitting on the sidelines for at least one event. I guess that's short track racing for you. The most recent iRacing build, back in April, allowed members in unofficial sessions to choose the number that they wanted to use on their race car. We've also added that functionality to Road and Oval World Championship Series. This makes it easier for you to follow the drivers that you want to keep tabs on, and here are some notable numbers you should keep your eyes open for. On the oval side of racing, current NASCAR iRacing World Champion Richard Thaler has chosen his customary number 08 to adorn his Whiskey River Chevrolet Impala, while Brad Davies has gone with number 11. In the Road Series, Finland's greatest sim racer and current road racing world champion, Gregor Hutu, will be identifiable by the number 1, of course, on his Williams Toyota F1 car. Klaus Kavickas, the current points leader, can be spotted by the number 33 on his FW31, while fellow rookie and My3ID teammate Jesse Nieminen will be hoping his 32 becomes synonymous with the World Championship crown. April marks the end of the first 2011 Pro Series season. And with it, there are 12 drivers from each of the Road and Oval A-Class series who are going to be gaining the new formatted Pro licenses. This could open the door to the World Championship Series. By finishing in the top 12 of either the NASCAR Impala Class A or iRacing Grand Prix Series, the newly promoted drivers can attempt to qualify for vacant slots should any World Championship regular not make it to the grid. In addition, by the end of Season 3 in October this year, there'll be a total of 36 pro-licensed iRacers who will run in the iRacing Pro Series during Season 4. This will decide which 20 will gain a full-time slot in the respective Oval and Road Racing World Championships for 2012. On the screen right now, you'll see the 12 drivers who are vying to get into the NASCAR iRacing.com World Championship. The list is headed up by Jim Caudill Jr., who took the Class A championship title by 204 points. Of note on that list is Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's pledged his ambitions to make it back into the NASCAR iRacing Championship. We're glad to see that Dale is having a great Sprint Cup run this season, and we're looking forward to having him racing back on iRacing soon. From the iRacing Grand Prix Series, it was a battle that went right down to the wire, with Roland Enstrom only sealing the title in the final round of the season. There is one name on that list to look out for in the future. That name is Ats Kirchhoff, who finished in 7th in the FW31 Class A Series, despite only registering 7 weeks worth of results in the season. With that kind of performance, the Benelux club member should be knocking on the door of the World Championship anytime now. Spotted on the iRacing member forum recently was an advertisement for current and prospective NASCAR iRacing.com World Championship drivers to join a new team being established by long-serving iRacer Josh Connors. Although the details are vague at this point in time, Connors hinted the response to his proposed team has been positive and that he's looking forward to what direction the team will be taking over the next few weeks. We wish you luck with that, Josh, and we look forward to finding out what your new team will be. This week, we had the opportunity to catch up with David Williams, one of the front-running rookie drivers in this year's iRacing World Championship Road Racing Series, who, along with his My3ID teammates, has already carved out a reputation as a sim racing frontrunner. He's twice been the runner-up in the iRacing V8 Supercar Series and currently sits 14th in the championship standings, following what can only be described as a below-par performance at Virginia International Raceway last week. The first thing we asked Englishman David Williams was how his sim racing career got started.
Well, I started playing racing games when I was very little, like 5, I guess, 6, when my parents first got a computer. But only really seriously about 5 years ago, I guess, with Live for Speed. And that's really the first game that I played online. And then, obviously 2 or 3 years ago iRacing came out, and I was racing quite seriously at that point, so I decided to move on to that because it seemed around with the best competition.
What do you do when you're not iRacing?
Well, I'm studying automotive engineering at university. and I play the guitar a little bit. Other than that, drinking, socialising, that's it pretty much.
David, please explain for all of us who might not have seen the race, what happened at Virginia International Raceway on that opening lap?
Well, first of all, I've not really had much time to practice for that event. I've been doing other things, GT Academy being the main thing. So qualifying didn't go particularly well. I think I started 16th, and I got off to a reasonable start. The first lap was really just about avoiding chaos, which was quite tricky on the track. It's quite a difficult track for F1 cars to get around, really. And that just about went all right. And then on the second lap, not sure what turn it is. It's the fast left-hander, which has a downhill. I just understeered. I was following someone and got onto the curb, went onto the grass and tried to save it, but it started bouncing and just span left into the wall.
So what does that do to your championship bid for this season?
Well, of course, it's just never a good thing, no. I was quite hopeful of getting at least in the top 10, despite where I started, so yeah, it was very disappointing. But, you know, there's 2 drop weeks, and there's plenty more rounds to get some more good results.
You recently made it through to the Intel GP Masters Championship race in Hanover, Germany, where you secured a 3rd spot overall and collected over $2,000 in prize money. Do you think this event and events like this are opening new doors for sim racing worldwide?
Well, it's definitely getting bigger, isn't it? It seems to be getting bigger, more popular. Larger events seem to be more common. So it's definitely on the way up, I think.
Did you enjoy the experience of the venue and the event?
It was definitely at least as big as I thought it was going to be, probably bigger. Huge event. I was very happy to even make it to the finals, because the qualifying stages didn't go too well for me, and I pretty much just scraped in.
I think this one,
So
went really smoothly.
I felt like the underdog, really.
I think it's great because.
But I mean, it was amazing to even just to see your name at such a big gaming event. Have your own little pod cockpit. It's pretty cool.
So far in your iRacing career, you've come up second a few times. For instance, missing the V8 Supercar Championship title by a whisker, not once, but twice. What do you think you have to do to take it up that extra notch?
Yeah, it's obviously not as good as I'd hope. It'd be nice to win a championship at some point, definitely. I've won championships in Live for Speed before iRacing, so it's not like I've not experienced it.
2011 is your first iRacing Drivers World Championship Road Racing Series. How are you enjoying it so far?
The level of competition is just insane. I think it was Barber, where it was like literally 20 drivers within half a second or something like that. And you wouldn't find any series in real life or anywhere, I don't think, that's as competitive. So top 10 is a good result.
Your My3ID team debuted in the championship this year on the Road Racing Series, and you've already breezed past established outfits like Team Redline and Orion Racing. Are you surprised at how well your team has performed this season?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't say breezed past, but it's definitely not been easy. But certainly, I would say we didn't expect to be so strong in the first.
For your own championship hopes, how important is it to be part of a team like My3ID?
It helps a lot, definitely. I mean, you can collaborate with setup work, on strategy, everything. You can have a good time. You can race just for fun. You can organise races among yourselves. It's definitely a lot better than just being independent.
Next on the racing schedule is Laguna Seca. Are you and your teammates doing anything special to prepare for the event?
It's another very tricky circuit with hardly any room for error, isn't it? You've got the fast left-hander just before the corkscrew, which has a very tricky curb on the inside, which if you hit, it's normally game over. But I like the track. I think I'm looking forward to it.
There's some classic tracks coming up in the iRacing schedule for the remainder of the year, including Sebring and Spa. Are there any tracks do you think that you'll be particularly strong at?
Obviously, everyone likes Spa, me included. I think it's a great track. So it'll be interesting when we go back there to see if the standings have changed at all from the first time that we went there. Sebring, a lot of people dislike that circuit because of the bumps, but I don't know, I kind of like it.
Good luck with the rest of your season, David. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us. We'll see you next time. Next up, we've got the iRacing Drivers' World Championship Road Racing Series, which is already off to a great start this season as we debuted this year the FW31 by Williams Toyota. It's been a stark contrast from last season, when by this stage of the championship, Gregor Hutu was the only driver to claim a race victory. Whereas this year, it's a new name and new teams every week, making real waves in the series. Here's the story so far. As the 2011 World Championship kicked off at Spa-Francorchamps, the majority of pundits were tipping Gregor Hutu as the pre-race and season favorite, and their views were validated when the champion put his Team Redline FW31 on the front row of the grid. However, championship rookie Jesse Niemanen was the man setting the pace in qualifying when he continued into the race as he led the field through the opening laps. The Finn proved to be unstoppable over the course of the 44-lap race, with Hutu having to fight his way back into second spot after some rare mistakes by the champion, which led to My3ID's Niemanen claiming a maiden victory on his full season debut. It's maximum points on the board for Niemanen as he gets his season off to a perfect start, following Hutu to the checkered flag. Hugo Luis, Klaus Kavakis, and Alexei Aloma made it 4 My3ID cars occupying the top 5 positions. Following a dramatic start to round 2 of the iRacing World Championship Series at Australia's Phillip Island, it was the My3ID team setting the early pace. In a race that was missing some big names like Hutu, Luca Mazier, and Bastian Barch. Getting the jump at the start, Klaus Kavakis set the early pace, only to have his teammate Jesse Niemanen take the lead back when the pair reached lap traffic. But just when it looked like Niemanen was going to cruise to his second victory on the bounce, power failure sent the Finn out of the race, which handed the lead and subsequent victory to homegrown Team Redline pilot Luke McLean. McLean takes maximum points ahead of Kavakis, who earned his first podium finish in the 2011 season, with Ilkka Hapala flying the flag for Team Orion Racing in third. With the exit of Niemanen and the absence of Hutu, My3ID's Kavakis moves into an early championship lead after 2 rounds, by virtue of his top 5 and podium finishes. Validating his position at the top of the World Championship standings, Klaus Kavakis dominated proceedings at iRacing's Zandvoort Grand Prix circuit after making the jump on his My3ID teammate Jesse Niemanen on the green flag yet again. And just like a repeat of the previous round at Phillip Island, Niemanen then suffered from technical gremlins while closely following the leader, which would drop him to 2 laps down the grid. With Niemanen out of the picture, Kavakis headed to the checkered flag unchallenged and untroubled to stamp his name on the list of 2011 Drivers' World Championship winners. It was a My3ID 1-2, with Hugo Luis bringing his Williams FW31 to the finish line second, ahead of reigning champion Gregor Hutu, who ran the entire race with one eye patched following an injury. The top 3 of the championship standings mirrors the finish result from Zandvoort, with Kavakis stamping his authority in the title chase, with a 26-point lead over his teammate Hugo Luis and Gregor Hutu. A visit to Barber Motorsports Park for round 4 proved to be a turning point for the iRacing World Championship rookie Jesse Niemanen, when he made his second full finish of the season that showed with reliability on his side, the title could be his. Although it was Hugo Luis leading the My3ID procession, followed by standings leader Klaus Kavakis, his race was to come to an untimely end when he was collected by Dion Vergers, who went spinning into Luis through turn 2. Spotting his chance to grab the lead in the confusion, Niemanen slipped past Kavakis, where he remained until the checkered flag to collect his second victory of the 2011 season. While Hutu had looked settled into third position during his early running, contact with the wall on the pit entry saw the Team Redline racer pick up enough damage to drop him to 14th. This handed Ilkka Haapala the chance to take his first podium of the season, which he duly accepted. After a titanic battle with Sean Purdy, Australian Ben Cornett claims his second top 5 finish of the season by the slimmest of margins. With 4 rounds complete, it's a My3ID sweep at the top of the standings table, with Kvyat's lead now extended to 56 points ahead of the resurgent Nieminen and Brazilian Hugo Luis. It was 2 in a row for Nieminen as he strode his way to a second consecutive championship victory at Infineon. Having started from the second row, Nieminen was in a 4-car battle with Team Redline's Luca Mazzier, Gregor Hutu, and Orion Racing's Ilkka Haapala until the first round of scheduled pit stops. This is when Nieminen seized his chance, getting a super fast entry into the pits and then a near perfect service. This brought the My3ID racer onto the pit lane exit ahead of Hutu and alongside Mazzier. And with the inside line of turn 2 to his advantage, Nieminen grabbed the lead from where he never looked back for the season victory number 3. Despite losing out on a great opportunity at his first win in the iRacing World Championship Series, Luca Mazzier was delighted with his second place finish ahead of Redline teammate Gregor Hutu. Kvyat continues to lead the standings after 5 rounds, albeit a reduced margin of 26 points over Nieminen, whose vein and form keeps him ahead of Hutu and Luis in the title chase. Just when the world thought he'd lost his racing mojo, Gregor Hutu bounces back with a dominant victory at the Virginia International Raceway to show the world champion still's got what it takes. After watching his teammate Luke McLean throw away his challenge for the race at the opening corner, he completely missed his braking point. Hutu flawlessly blazed the trail to take his first victory in the 2011 World Championship season, with a margin of 9 seconds over Kvyat at the checkered flag. Behind this pair, Hugo Luis was the victor in the mini skirmish for the final podium spot when his My3ID teammate Nieminen gave up the position with a trip across the grass outside the hotel complex. Taking advantage of several mistakes by Ilkka Haapala, Italy's Matthias Egger claimed his first ever World Championship top 5 finish after more than 20 attempts. With 6 rounds of the season complete, Kvyat has extended his lead to 34 points over Nieminen, who now has Redline's Hutu showing all the signs of a comeback, just 24 points behind him. On this part of our program, we've got a section called 2-Minute Tech Tips. What we hope to do is give you a better insight into what components go into a race car setup and how they work. Using these tips, hopefully you can get the most out of your setups back at home. This week we head to Snetterton in the UK to talk anti-roll bars with iRacing member Joe Osborne. Besides being an iRacer, Joe is also the 2009 FIA GT4 champion, and now he races FIA GT3 with the United Autosports team.
I'm Chris Hall in Racing News, and today I'm with iRacer Joe Osborne, and we're here to talk about anti-roll bars. So Joe, tell us a little bit about your real racing exploits.
Well, I've been racing since I was a young lad, obviously, but this year I'm racing FIA GT3 in an Audi R8, sponsored by Draper Tools and racing with United Autosports. And I'm obviously here to try and help you through anti-roll bars. Anti-roll bars are funny old things. They're very, very simple. They're a leverage tool which stiffens up the chassis. So obviously the stiffer the chassis, the stiffer the whole car is, and the more grip generated. The negatives of that is that the tyres will work too hard sometimes. So we're always in a constant balance with our anti-roll bars.
Now, could you explain to us how you would adjust your anti-roll bars if you were going into a corner and as you were coming out of it, you were getting oversteer?
Yeah, so if the car was oversteering on the exit, to me it sounds like the car's too stiff. So when you get on the throttle, the car isn't squatting. So all the energy created is just being put through the tyres and it's starting to slide. So what we need to do is soften the car off and let some of the energy dissipate through the anti-roll bar and into the suspension.
Okay, and conversely, if you're coming into a corner and you're finding that it's understeer, it doesn't want to point into the corner, how would you make adjustments then to help?
Again, it sounds like the car's too stiff, the weight transfer isn't happening, so we need to soften off the front anti-roll bar to let the car roll over onto the corner that should be loaded up to get some more weight over and hopefully eradicate the understeer.
Okay, so what are the advantages about using anti-roll bars to set up the car?
But the main positive is it's a very quick change on a racing car. We can buzz a wheel off and change the anti-roll bar setting in 30 seconds, so there's no time lost in practice, which is obviously crucial time. And there's also, it changes the car quite dramatically. It's quite a big change straight away, so they're the two advantages of anti-roll bar changes.
And what are the disadvantages about using the roll bars?
The disadvantage of the setup change is limited to 3 settings on our car. Quite a lot of race cars don't have many settings, so if you can't cure it for anti-roll bar, you're going to have to go for something more major. So the sort of limited range of setup is the negatives for roll bars.
And what is the target when you're setting up the car for the roll bars? Are you looking for a stiff setup or a soft setup?
Yeah, obviously it just depends on the length of time we're out on circuit. In qualifying, I sort of get the engineer to stiffen the car up as much as I can. The negative of that is it works the tyre very quickly, so we can't run a stiff setup in the race, otherwise we're going to use our tyres too quickly. So we have to soften the car off and let some of the energy go through the suspension and not directly through the tyre.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thanks for watching, everyone. That's about all the time we've got for this edition of iRacing Sim World magazine. Make sure you tune into iRacing TV for live coverage of the iRacing World Championship races every other Tuesday and Sunday. And don't forget, you can always get the championship lowdown at inracingnews.com. Until then, I'm your host, Sean Siff. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.